So we're both part of solution engineering at Salesforce. Our role, while it's kind of technically orientated, is really focused on understanding what businesses are trying to do and to see how we can help them in doing that. Essentially, what we're going to do, and we will be showing a little agenda slide, but we're going to give you an overview of AI and how it's evolving at the moment, and then the particular Salesforce take on it. We're going to go through a number of real cases, use cases that will be applicable to businesses large and small, and how we're able to help in that. So we'll just go forward to the next one. Next slide. As we're a publicly traded company, we are required to show this before every presentation that involves showing anybody element of the product, because we're continuing to evolve and develop the product as it goes along. So if anyone was making a buying decision, they should do it on what is generally available at the moment. By and large, everything we're going to show and talk about today is generally available unless we specifically call it out. So just going on to the next slide. Just to be clear, the term AI has evolved over time. I'm originally from Kerry, and AI would have had a particularly different meaning a number of years ago. So I just want to be absolutely sure that nobody's come to this particular webinar expecting to see us talking about our bovine friends and interactions with them. So if there is anybody who's come for that particular topic, they should probably drop off now. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and how it relates to business challenges today. So first of all, I'd also like to thank you all for your time today. You're very busy and you've taken time out of your business day to listen to us. And we really appreciate that. So thanks very much for doing that. And now on to just the agenda, please. And we do want this to be interactive. So as questions occur to you, if you want to put them in the chat, respond to those at the time, or maybe we'll take them a little bit later on where we may actually be touching on the topic that you've asked a question about. And we have allowed actual time at the end as well for a general Q&A. So we're sort of coming to the end of the welcome piece. Oisin's going to give you an overview of AI generally. We're going to talk about some of those real world use cases, and then we're going to look at what's next, some pieces that you could actually take away and work with yourselves. So I'm just going to hand on to Oisin now.
Perfect. So hi everyone, I'm Oisin Daniels. Give me the quick introduction there. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you an overview of AI, and you can probably see from the slide we're kind of in an AI revolution at the minute, and what does that really mean? And the way we kind of look at it here at Salesforce is that it's come in waves. So the first kind of wave we had was all around the predictive AI. And what does predictive AI mean? That's really when you start typing into Google and Google tries to finish off the sentence for yourself. And that's what predictive AI means, taking all the information that you have from previous data and applying that to what you're doing at the minute and trying to predict the outcome. At Salesforce, we have a long history of doing that. That's all been part of our Einstein piece. And you'll see, we'll talk about Einstein a lot throughout the presentation today. And that's basically what that means. That's a reference to our predictive AI. The second wave then we have, and that's really come about in the last couple of years, is the generative piece. And all that is based around is your GPT products, so or solutions. So if you look at ChatGPT is probably the one that's most common. Everyone knows about that. You can do anything from get recipes on it to plan your next holiday. And really what that's doing is that's generating information for you based on data you have. And ChatGPT is great generally if you're doing stuff like that, asking it about a holiday or a cooking recipe. But if you want to get insights from your own business, it's a bit more difficult because it doesn't have access to your own business data. And that's something that we're going to touch on around how Salesforce can help you with that. And then we're actually moving into a new wave of AI now. And this is something that's really just, I suppose, cutting edge at the minute. And that's around the autonomous AI and AI agents. And that's something that Salesforce are putting a lot of investment into now. And we actually announced last week at our global conference, Dreamforce, about our Agent Force. And really what Agent Force is using AI to solve your key business problems around customer service and sales. And we'll mention that towards the end. And there's some really great live demos on LinkedIn that are floating around from last week that I'd encourage people to look into to really see what the cutting edge of AI looks like. Okay, so we'll move on from that. And just to kind of give you a bit of comfort in it, that Salesforce has been innovating for a long time with AI. We just didn't start a couple of years ago. We actually started 10 years ago, where we looked at the Salesforce Einstein piece that I mentioned. And that's led to loads of different predictive AI capabilities. We have about 60 at the minute, and those have been generated in-house as well as through acquisitions. And you can see as we've moved with the times, we've come all the way up to the generative AI, and now we're actually moving into the AI agents piece. So the next bit that I wanted to talk about is around the Salesforce platform, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people on here won't have seen Salesforce or won't really have an understanding of what we do, and that's okay. But to kind of give you for you to take the most benefit out of today, I want to explain how we look at a business and how our products kind of work. So Salesforce methodology is the customer 360. And what that means is really having one single view of your customer and getting the 360-degree view of all that. So whether that be their marketing information, sales information, service information, all that good stuff, having it in one place. And you'll see now how through the use of data cloud and AI that we can do that at an unparalleled level. So if I just move on here, this is one of our really good slides that we've got recently in terms of breaking down how AI and how data cloud come together with your CRM data to give your customers a better experience and make your life easier, because that's really what we want AI to do. So you can see we've got in the middle of the screen here, we've got our CRM app. So whether that's your sales CRM, your service data, all that good stuff is in the middle here. On the left then, we've got our data cloud, and data cloud is another product of Salesforce where we can pull in data from loads of different sources, whether you've got a data lake or a different server holding your data. We can pull that into Salesforce and really enrich the data you've already got in your CRM. Then this is where the magic happens then, is on the right-hand side with the Einstein piece. So this is where we use the predictive AI, the generative stuff, or the agents that I talked about earlier. And all that data that we've combined from the data cloud and your CRM apps is put through what's called the Einstein trust layer into the models. And then that gives us back the real insights that we're looking for. A quick note on what the trust layer is. That's basically a layer to make sure that your data is safe. Trust is our number one value at Salesforce, and we really want you to trust us with your customer data, and we want to keep that safe. So the key note here is that none of your data is put anywhere else. It's put into the trust layer, goes to the models, and comes back and is not kept anywhere. That's the kind of the low level explanation of it. We can go into that a bit further later on if you'd like. But that's the basis for how AI models operate at the moment. I'm going to hand it back over to Daniel now, who's just going to build on that.
Thanks very much. So I guess the thing that most people will have played around with will be the chat GPTs or Google Gemini or something like that. And essentially that's consumer AI that's sort of out there to popularize what AI could potentially be used for. And as Oisin said, like, you can do things like, I have these ingredients, can you give me a recipe? Or, can you please tell me who was the prime minister of such and such a country during a particular period? And what that's been designed to do, and it's based off a mathematical model, a predictive thing that actually has taken all of the publicly available data that was there in the internet, has scraped everything that was publicly facing, and based on what was there and the prompt that you have from the question that you as a person are typing in or are asking, maybe you're using an interface like Google Assistant or an Alexa to ask the question, it then takes that as its input, creates a mathematical model that then uses that to predict what the next word in its answer should be. So those are publicly available consumer AIs. And essentially how that's broken down, and you can see it here in the slide, is that you've got a UI, which is how do you, as an ordinary person, interact with it and how do you ask it a question. The next piece then is actually the models that are actually the back of things. And that's actually, I suppose, where the big competition between the different models is out there at the moment. And it is based on publicly available data. So as Oisin mentioned, interactions that you've had with your customers, problems that they've encountered, selling opportunities that you have with them, that isn't going to be publicly available. So if you try asking one of these models a question about your particular customer, or your customer tries asking it something about, where is my order, it's not going to get an intelligent answer because that data isn't actually available to those models. And it's also something that you actually want to make sure it isn't available to those models. Something that people need to keep in mind is that when you ask a question, and you will often be asked, was the answer appropriate? Did the answer actually match to the question that you were looking for? That's all taken into the model and used as part of its learning to make itself better. So as Oisin referenced, the reason we have the Einstein trust layer there is to ensure that anything related to your confidential private information that you have related to your customers never makes its way out into that public data model. So the difference that we have, and I'd actually highlight one other thing, is that there are businesses who started in the last 12 or 18 months to build their own models. Now, that is an incredibly expensive exercise to undertake. And in some industries, there may be actually a benefit to that. But the truth is, the benefit that you get from AI can be taken from using the public model, but combining it with that data in a way that's, sort of properly confidential and properly controlled. So this is where there's been a pushback. A lot of businesses have decided, no, we don't need to build our own model. What we need to have is a way of interacting with the existing models so that we can actually have the personalized experience for our customers. So the piece that we're differentiated is that in business AI, you need to have trusted data available to you to ask the right kind of questions and share the right kind of information to generate those answers, but in a way that doesn't actually make that data publicly available. So that's the differentiation from us, is that you can use the UI embedded within the Salesforce platform, or use it on a mobile device or whatever it might be. The UI element isn't changing hugely. We do put control in place of that using our prompt builder, which is a capability we have within the platform to generate and share the right sort of information when asking the question. And we can use those public models. You can have an agreement, with a particular model that's out there, and people can bring their own as well. But the data element is the piece that we're exercising control on. So the next piece that I'm just going to go forward to is the fact that, this AI is kind of redefining how businesses interact with their customers as well. Many of us will have, personal experience of, whether it's getting a pizza delivery or something like that. You're able to track where that is, when will it actually be delivered to you. From a business perspective, we now expect that as well when we've ordered a product or ordered a business delivery. So, that consumer experience is driving our expectations of how we interact with businesses and the service that a business can deliver to us. And so the anticipation then is that you will be proactive in reaching out to customers when there are particular problems or situations encountered. I'm just going to move on to the next slide, which is actually a short video. Let us know if you can't hear the audio on this, but you should be able to. Now, this is a kind of a larger customer, but the issues that arise in this are things that would be particular to any business.
What I love about my job is to interact with customers. How can I help them?
Every interaction we have with our customer is an opportunity to build trust and loyalty with them. We have two brands, France, KLM. We have a lot of data, quite an important asset. At the same time, it's indeed a big challenge. We need to access all information in one single entry point. And Einstein One Platform is the solution we have deployed, leveraging AI towards all assistants to make it happen.
The business is very complex. Being an airline, there are so many processes going on at the same time. Refunds, complaints, but also simple questions.
What are the conditions?
How much baggage can I take?
Changes booking.
I want to take my surfboard.
And I carry my cat with me on board.
All these kinds of questions we can handle with the Einstein One platform.
More and more customers are looking for self-service first. When they contact customer service, it's because they did not find their answer. They really expect that we know everything that has happened between the brand and themselves. So we have to scale up to that level.
Before the assistant, they had to search different systems. You see them perform 7 or 8 clicks before getting the answer. That's not simple to me. Data is really important to unlock AI.
It's a way to augment and to have smarter teams.
Now we are able to connect all kinds of internal systems to the Einstein One platform.
For me, it's very simple. In 2 clicks, I have all the information I need. You can have a personalized attention and a quick answer.
We see an increased productivity on the assistants and more human connection instead of processes.
I'm very happy to use the Einstein One service. It's fulfilling to work with.
On generative AI, we want to unlock an assistant to an assistant to help them deliver a seamless experience for our customers. For example, if there's a disruption taking place, what are the next best service actions? We don't wait for the customer to come to us, but we just reach out.
Combining CRM, AI, data is a way to build the trust and the long-lasting relationship with our customers.
When the customer is happy, as a customer sales agent, I'm happy as well.
That's in itself a big success.
It's really the way to make the difference with competition. And thanks to Salesforce and the unified solution that we provide, we can leverage the information we have and provide the best service experience.
So that's an example from a customer of ours, and I'm just going to hand over to Oisin to take us through some use cases in service. But I'd give a straightforward example of that. I would have been one of those tens of thousands of people traveling with Aer Lingus this summer, where I didn't know at the end of the, when we were due to fly back, whether our flight would be happening or not. And essentially, as a business, that was hugely damaging to their brand because they simply left customers to their own devices. I had no way of finding out information about when would I know that a flight would be cancelled and that I'd have to make my own arrangements. So as you would know as businesses, it is far, far harder to get new business than it is to retain your existing customers. And this is all about being able to do that. I'm going to hand over to Oisin now to take us through some of the service examples.
Yeah, perfect. And I just want to point out as well, I know we've got a range of people on the webinar today. And although Air France and KLM is a massive brand, all that technology is available to you. But that's the great thing about software as a service and the model that Salesforce adopted. You can get access to the exact same technology that KLM and Air France are using, that cutting edge AI piece, and you can apply it to your own business. But what I want to talk through now are some of the use cases, the very easy, quick wins that you can utilize AI for, especially around things like service bots and knowledge creation. So I know I mentioned the whole agent, and you've seen an example of the bots in that video. But these can be really useful for things like simple things like asking, when is my delivery due? And we can utilize AI in the background to go out and fetch that information and pull it back to the customer, so they don't have to spend 15 minutes on a phone line waiting for a customer service agent. So we're really looking at those quick wins, but also enhancing that customer experience. So you've got better, happier customers who've got a great relationship with the brand. The other one then is around knowledge creation. So if you've got like internal knowledge bases, we can use AI to sift through those different knowledge articles, and based on what customer service case comes in, to give you the best or the most recommended knowledge article to help you get those cases closed quicker. There's also other nice things around service replies, where the Einstein agent will actually go and generate the replies based off all the knowledge you have already. So rather than your agent even having to go and click into an article, the AI assistant will go and look through all the articles and pull out the key pieces of information, combine it together in plain English that you can send on to your customer then. So there's a couple other ones there you can see around Copilot as well. And I don't want to go through them all today, just in the interest of time. But you can see across the bottom as well, we've got the different examples of how customers are using it and the benefit they're seeing in Einstein for service. This is one of the key examples, is around Fujitsu and how they used, especially around the service replies, to enhance their customer experience. So you can see that they got a 31% increase in agent productivity by removing the need for agents to go in and search all these articles. Although what they done was they handed that responsibility over to the AI piece, and they were able to pull out the key bits from knowledge articles, send it to the customers quicker, whether that be through chat or email, to get ahead of what was needed to be done and give their customers a better experience. Okay, I'm going to hand it back over to Daniel now, who's going to talk through some of the sales use cases.
Yeah, thanks very much, Oisin. So to a degree, what we're utilizing in these sales use cases will actually mirror things that will be there in service, and they're also there for marketing teams. They're also there for people who are selling with our commerce solution as well. These different capabilities are surfaced through different applications that we have on that Salesforce platform. So we'll say the first one with a sales assistant is that it can assist someone who's selling in able to do research, to summarize the records, to draft emails. And actually, I'll take you through a little bit of an example of that shortly. To update the CRM in the background automatically. It can help you with call support. So what we quite often do with our interactions with customers is, we'd be recording as you're doing with this call now. It would generate a transcript, and then it would analyze that transcript and call out different things like maybe actions that you had agreed to do in terms of going back to the customer, or information that the customer had agreed to send back to you. So it generates all of those actions. It could also call out insights where maybe there was something that the customer mentioned that actually flags the fact that they have a sense of urgency about trying to find a solution to their problem. So it's able to assist your selling team in doing a better job. And the coach sellers as well. The see the future element is really looking at leads and opportunities that you might have, and analyzing those and scoring them so that your team are able to focus on the thing that is most likely to close, where there is the greatest urgency, where you have the best chance of actually being able to sell that particular customer. What I'm actually going to do is rather than talking about this, I'm going to take you into a little bit of a demo. So I'm going to work here with somebody called Katie. Now, we're just going to double check if this comes up, because we were just sharing now. Just double check on Zoom if that's what you're seeing. Oh, perfect. It's come through. So I'm Katie. Now, this is an example of a dashboard that somebody in the sales team would have to work with. So I've come into work. I've been out for a few days. Maybe I'm not entirely sure, what I should be focusing on. So what I would otherwise have to do is I kind of have to trawl around the place and look for things. But I've got little Einstein symbol up here, little icon, and I'm going to, ask it to sort of tell me, okay, what are my top opportunities so I can close stuff by the end of the month. And I'll do that in a just a conversational way, in a kind of an interface that most would be used to on our phones or something. And it's going to have a look at everything that's assigned to me, and it's going to pick out the top three. And come back to me, and this is a dynamic thing that if, I might have gone out on holidays and stuff has happened in the interim that I'm not aware of. So it's a great way of me being able to get up and get onto things quickly. So it's flagged up these three. So I'm going to have a look at the first one, because I'm always going to look at the first thing that I see. And okay, so I'm presented with an opportunity record. So if you're not familiar with Salesforce or CRMs generally, you're going to have a number of different record types within the system that are going to track information about your individual customer people. So the contact record, your account record about the particular business that you're dealing with, or opportunities that you might be progressing with them at the moment to sell them a particular product or particular service. So I'm looking at this, and there's a lot of information in here, but it's kind of captured in fields and stuff, and I'd have to read around it, and I'm kind of lazy. I'd actually like a quick summary of this in an English, understandable method. So I'm just going to ask it to quickly summarize the opportunity and what it is that I should be doing. So it's come back, and it's flagged up what the state of things is. And it's actually said, look, there's no activities on this at the moment. So if I want to progress something, I need to change things. So I need to be actually, looking at what is it I should be doing with this customer. So I'm going to just ask, so what should I be doing with this particular customer? So again, this is like I'm being coached along the way. I'm being given advice. So if you have a new team member, this is a really good way of getting them up to speed quickly. It's come back and it's actually told me these are particular things I should do as part of a close plan. And you can see here, actually, a suggested action has been created for me that I should really email the person and try and set up a meeting with them. So I'm just going to do that now. It's pre-populating, who's the best person in the particular account that I should talk to. And again, I'm somewhat lazy about this stuff. I wouldn't like to be writing, starting from scratch in a blank page. So I'd like to have something that, would start me off. And so I'm just going to get it to generate an email for me. And I'm going to say what particular product we're trying to sell to them at the moment. Now, Data Cloud is one of our products that Oisin had referenced earlier. So I want that to be the kind of the focus of the email. Now, you may have gone to a regular, ChatGPT type of thing, and you could get it to draft you an email. But if you put information about your customer in that query to ChatGPT as a consumer, that information is going to start to form part of ChatGPT's data model, and somebody else could ask a question and get that information served back to them. Because we've got the Einstein trust layer in place here, that means that information can't actually form part of this. So I've looked at this, I have a quick read of it. I'm not sure that I like the tone of it, so I might like to revise that a little bit. So I'm going to sort of formalize things a little bit more in terms of just the language that I'm using. So to just rewrite the email, make it a little bit more formal. So I am trying to set up a meeting with this person. So I'll just revise that. So I'll utilize the fact that there's a capability now. I'm just gonna, sorry, I just need to scroll back into the right place. And I'm gonna add in a meeting invite element, as it were, to that. So it's helped me to really quickly put together a mail that's particular to this customer about the particular things that we need to talk about in terms of me as a seller and as they as a potential customer. So I've sent that off, and a few days, maybe a week or two has passed, and I've actually had that meeting with Laura. And again, I mentioned about the transcript element. So, we recorded that call, and what we've got out of this now is that I have the full transcript available here. But again, I'm a little bit lazy on this stuff. So I'd really like, if you could point out to me, if Einstein could go out and say, do you know what, this is actually the particular areas that you should be focusing on. And you see it's highlighted this to me here. This was where, in the conversation that I had with Katie, she flagged up something that identified a clear need that we need to respond to. So, I could also be looking up at the call summary, the action items that are actually generated. Again, this is creating tasks and work for me to do. What should I do to move things forward? So I can look at the conversation explorer here. I can ask about those questions about those agreed next steps between the two of us to try and bring the thing through to close. And then I'm just going to have a quick look back then at the account record, the opportunity record. And I just need to close this. My mouse movement isn't all that great. We've done all of the things that we need to do, and I've been able to successfully close this opportunity, generate new revenue for the business. And all along the way, at different points, I was assisted. Those use cases that I talked about earlier, where we're summarizing the conversation, we're identifying key needs, tasks that I need to do. Now, if I'm a very experienced sales rep, I'll probably know those myself, but for newer people, that may not be the case. And even for the best person, it's always good to have somebody there on your shoulder, giving you that little bit of advice along the way. So we're just going to go back now to the presentation. I'm just going to call out a couple of the pieces in terms of the use cases that we've mentioned. So the sales assistant was surfaced there for the drafting of the emails, the planning, updating the CRM as things changed, also the call support to identify those insights, to summarize things, to automate the follow-ups and the creation of the action items, and identifying those sales signals so that you don't miss out on things along the way. And the predictability and the scoring at the very beginning there, remember, I asked it, what are my top 3 opportunities that I should be focusing my work on? So that's where the scoring element of things comes in. And then I'm going to take you through the fact that, to reiterate what Oisin said at the beginning, we've had these waves in AI. And the first piece was the predictive bit, which is that you're saying, this is what we know about these particular customers and how things are moving along. Can you give me a calculation and a prediction of whether this piece of business will close or not? The next piece that we're currently seeing is the generative piece, which is assisting me in how I do my job. It's helping me to do things. But the autonomous and the agent piece that we've talked about and that Oisin has talked about is the bit where you're actually getting something to do the work for you. So in this case, the creation of the tasks in my CRM to tell me I need to schedule this, or it could schedule the meeting for me automatically. It could generate the email, send it on my behalf, and it could include the scheduling, and it could do the back and forth with the customer to say, these are my dates that are available, because it would look at my calendar. And then the customer could say, well, these are my dates that are available, and the system would just work out an appropriate day. And that's why last week we've made a big push on this thing. We're calling it Agentforce. And essentially what this is going to be is that we're going to have pre-baked agents available within the platform. There's going to be 3 at the outset. They're going to be generally available in about 2 weeks' time, thereabouts in the course of October, and pricing information will be available on those. And over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, we're going to be launching more of these, because essentially this is about having agents that can do work on your behalf. So an example, and we'll be sharing links. We'll be sharing this presentation as a PDF afterwards with links in it for things that you can actually go forward yourselves and further learning. But what you'll be able to see is that, you know, we talked a little bit about bots earlier, and in a lot of the existing bots that are out there from different providers, you need to know that tree. It's a bit like that voice system that you like, you know, type 5 for this. Do you want to talk to that? And the bot had to know exactly what the decision tree was going to be like. The difference with the agents is that they can dynamically respond to different queries in the course of that conversation without having to escalate to an agent too early. So they could dynamically rearrange things. They could reach out to a customer and say, we've had an outbreak in our delivery service, so we won't have any availability tomorrow. What days next week suit you? And it could do that proactively on your behalf, but kept within guide rails the whole way through in terms of what it is and isn't able to do. There was a recent example during the summer where an airline's chatbot made an offer in terms of cheap tickets, which they were held legally liable for, even though the chatbot shouldn't have been doing stuff like that. So that's why we have guide rails within our system. And also at all times, your data is kept protected. So we're kind of coming to the close of what we were going to talk about in the talking element. We'll be sending this on where there are links for you as a business to review your own AI readiness, which is always going to be different for each business. We have a huge amount of free knowledge, information, and training materials on Trailhead, which is our learning platform. That's free. You don't have to buy anything. You just register for it and access those materials. They're done in really bite-sized elements. There would be a trail that might be made up of a couple of different training pieces. Each of the training pieces might be 10 or 15 minutes. It also gives you access then as well to playground environments. Again, that's free. So, you know, that is something for you to be able to familiarize yourself with both Salesforce as a platform and the CRM and the service and marketing elements, but also then to see the AI surfaced within that. And then the last piece then is if you want to reach out for some one-to-one advice, we can connect you up with the person who'd be associated with yourself as a business. We're going to go on now to the Q&A section. I think in terms of time, we're pretty good here. David, have you seen any questions come in, or do people want to unmute and just ask us some questions?
There's no questions there at the moment, but if people would like to use the Q&A function at the bottom there, the little feature in the toolbar, please feel free to ask away.
I think there's a couple of things that occur to me that people might be interested in some clarifications on. I suppose the first element is that people may have a perception that this works probably best for a really large organization, but sometimes for smaller businesses where hiring a couple of extra employees is a really big step up in terms of your cost base. This sort of a solution to explore it at least and see what it could do for you could be the difference between you hiring one extra person, because effectively what you need is a third of a person to deal with a particular task or a particular function. And being able to do this with an AI or with part of the agent force would be a much more cost-effective way of doing it. And the other element that I would call out is now the specific pricing will be available in the middle of the month, but this is going to be done on a consumption basis. So as you acquire the capabilities of using the different agents, it'll be based on how much they're actually used and how much your customers are interacting with it. So it's very responsive in that way, that you're not having a huge upfront cost and that I have to license something and guess how much my customers are going to use it for. What you would probably do is you'd look at the consumption thresholds that will be there and start out small. Look at what it is that the functions that you need it to sort of substitute for, and build then as your customers respond and engage with it more. I think that would be a key thing. Oisin, is there anything else you can?
No, nothing off the top of my head. I think did a question just come in there into the chat?
Well, yeah. So
yeah, like that's a good question, Joe. It really depends how you're serving your customers at the minute. Like, are you working off email queues? Are you taking phone calls? What kind of does that breakdown look like? And then based off that, you've got a lot of different options. So things around service replies, using stuff like knowledge articles to be fit to answer questions quicker. It really does depend on what your kind of setup is the minute. And I just wouldn't want to say that there's one specific answer fits all, because it doesn't. But if you did want to reach out and schedule some time to maybe have a talk around what the breakdown of your service team looks at now. Maybe it's just you that's doing it. Maybe you've got a wider team, and then we can kind of advise based on that. But it really depends on what your setup is at the moment and how you're serving your customers.
yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, essentially, and we're going back to that piece in the slide where we talked about there's the UI element of this, which I think is what an awful lot of people will. It'll be the first piece that they understand as being AI. So they'll have gone to ChatGPT's website or Google Gemini or something like that, and they'll ask it questions. That's the UI element of things. The bit that's at the back of that is the different models. And there are different models out there with different specializations. There will be models available over time that are likely to be, I would say, licensed, and they'll be very domain specific. So I would give an example of, we'll say if it was medical research or something like that, and maybe this would be for doctors. Most of the materials related to that in terms of research papers and whatnot are behind a firewall, and you have to pay to access them. So what is happening at the moment is that those knowledge articles and those papers and patents and whatnot are all being scraped to develop a particular model for diagnostics. And it's likely then that will become a paid model for people in the domain of the medical world to utilize. So it'll depend a little bit on what area of business that you're in yourself, which model actually suits you best. The thing that we're able to do is that within our platform, we've got a thing and we call it the prompt builder. And it's a way of structuring questions. So as you know yourself now, if you use any of these consumer things, if you ask it a question, you'll get a certain type of answer. If you rephrase the question, it may come back to you with an answer that's actually more appropriate to what it was that you were trying to find. So it's how do you ask the question? I'm a Kerryman. So the classic thing about, if you ask a Kerryman directions, his first response will be, well, why do you want to go there? So we respond to questions with a question. What Prompt Builder allows us to do is to combine the intent in a consistent way, so that we'll say members of your sales team who need to ask a question of an AI model, that how do you share within the context of the question information about the account, the opportunity, what products are involved, and that sort of thing, so that you get an answer back from the AI model that actually fits what it was that the person was trying to ask. So that's kind of how the Prompt Builder, as I suppose something that matches to the UI element of things, makes the answer more appropriate to your business. And as Oisin said, it can be a service related thing where you're trying to help a customer solve a problem, or it could be part of your sales function where you're trying to sell stuff to people, or it could be part of you're engaged as a marketing team and you want to create marketing materials for a particular domain, and you want to know what are the best images to use, or the right kind of text. As we saw there, you can formalize the text response or make it more informal or more friendly. It would depend on what it is that you're trying to do as a business.
Okay, has anyone else got any questions before we wrap it up? Also, like we were saying, feel free to reach out to us after this, and we can get you in touch with whoever would be the most relevant person, whether it's sales, service, whatever it is you're looking at. If you have any questions around like the AI readiness piece is great, and we'll send on the links after in the along with the slide deck. I know there's an awful lot to digest there. Basically, what we kind of want to sum up is that AI is not this massive scary problem that's going to come and take your jobs. We can actually use small bits and pieces like the service replies, like simple stuff like summarizing, helping you write emails with your customer data, which is the real key. So it's personalized for your customers, and that's going to help you save time on your side, but it's also going to give your customers a better experience and build a better rapport with them.
Yeah, so there's just one last slide, which I think is our thank you slide. So we just want to go on to that, and I'll just say that the key thing for us is that, you know, we're trying to give you an overview. We're sort of judging this on the basis of, you know, there may be some people on the call who know quite a bit about this, and there may be other people for whom, you know, maybe they were intending to go to that other AI webinar, but who've learned a certain amount in this. The key thing is we have a huge amount of Salesforce of free material available for you to learn at your own pace and to look at what's the best piece for you to start with as a business. And that's all that we're intending to do, is to kind of guide you along that path, you know, to just become a little bit more aware of things that are out there and to decide what is the next best step for yourselves. So thank you again for your time this morning. I know you've got busy days, but it's been really great for us, and we hope that we've been able to get something out of it. Thank you.
Thank you both for a really informative session. As you mentioned, we'll pass on the information to those who've registered for today's event, and we look forward to hopefully hearing that they catch up with you as well and hearing a little bit more about this. Thanks so much.
Great. Thanks, David.